In this video, I'm going to show Devin from Baylor University how he can improve his serve by comparing him to Jannik Sinner. Now, right off the bat here, I just want to say that I do not know Devin. Devin does not know me. This is completely unsolicited. I was just watching him play and I thought, he could improve his serve. So I decided to compare him with Sinner. I am certainly not saying that I could beat him. He would mop the floor with me as a player, but as a coach, my job is to help him not be able to beat him in a match, right? So I want to show you, Devin, how you can improve. Let's first look at some things that you're doing really well. What you'll notice, you both have a very similar beginning with the back foot, up on the toe, the weight on the front foot. You'll even notice that you have your racket face open. That's an indicator of using the proper grip. Awesome stuff. I also want to show you near the end how similar the two of you are. From at contact, you both have your left arm tucked in against the body. You can see the fantastic angle between the arm and the racket, which is perfect, right? You don't want your arm and racket to be in a straight line on any serve, and you don't, and obviously neither does Jannik. So really good stuff. You can see you both kick the back foot up into the air. Amazing stuff. In fact, one thing that I noticed as well is small little detail. Notice how you both have your right arm bent when you're done, where like the elbow is pointing up. This is a great way to accelerate the racket. This is actually called the Sampras elbow, where the arm is bent just before contact, obviously straight as you're striking the ball, and then bent after. You'll see Ben Shelton make this move, but Sampras really made this famous, especially on his jump overheads, where he would bend the elbow after contact. But this is a great way to make sure that you get that internal shoulder rotation and pronation after the serve. Like I said, Devin's a very good player, very high level player, so he's going to do a ton right. But now, Devin, let's look at some ways that you could improve your serve by looking at some differences between you and Jannik. First off, let's look at your toss height, because this really sets the stage for the timing of your serve and making sure that everything is firing at the right time, especially your leg drive. So let's look at Jannik's toss height. So the way you measure a toss is by putting the ball near the top of the head, and you put a timer down and you run the timer until contact. So there's the timer. And what we should see from now until contact is somewhere between 0.6 and 0.9 seconds transpires from now until contact. All right, let's run the timer from now until contact. And you can see Jannik is about to hit the ball 0.75 seconds. That's actually identical to Ben Shelton's toss timing. So now let's look at, Devin, your toss height and toss timing. Ball's near the top of your head. We run the timer, and you can see that your toss timer reads 0.89. So you're within that 0.6 to 0.9 range, but just barely. Now, here's what I would recommend. I would recommend, Devin, that you toss a little bit slower in order to toss a little bit lower. Here's why. What we have to think of when it comes to this timing is really that's telling us how much time our swing takes. So when we go to the point where the ball is at the top of the head, from right now until contact, Jannik is going to take 0.75 seconds. He's going to have to move his racket fast enough that his swing gets to the ball, his racket gets to the ball in 0.75 seconds. If we do that with your serve, at this moment until contact, you're going to have to take 0.88 seconds from this moment. Now, simply from a, speed definition of, distance over time, Jannik is going to have to move his racket faster in order to only take 0.75 seconds, where you're going to have to move your racket a little bit slower, obviously minus acceleration, and we can talk about that another time. But surely, purely on a speed, distance over time definition, you're going to have to move your racket a bit slower. Jannik is going to have to move his racket a bit faster. So I would recommend tossing a bit slower in order to toss a little bit lower, Devin. That'll force you to swing faster, and you're going to hit a bigger serve. Now, we can't just discuss the toss when it comes to tossing a bit lower because you are a pinpoint stance server. That's why I'm actually comparing you to Jannik. I want you to notice the difference in when Jannik brings his back foot up compared to yours. Notice Jannik is bringing the back foot up as he's releasing the ball. But Devin, you release the ball and then long after your foot comes up. And a couple things that this causes. First, it causes you to have less knee bend. Let's look at this. When Jannik tosses and he brings the back foot up right away, when his foot hits the ground, look where his racket is. Look where your racket is when your foot hits the ground. So right there, your foot hits the ground. His foot is hitting the ground and his racket is just above knee height. When your foot hits the ground, your racket is in the trophy position. That means Jannik can have more knee bend because he has more distance between the racket and contact, so he can have a deeper knee bend, which is going to take a little bit longer to explode up, but he has the time to do it because he brought the foot up earlier. In fact, let's compare his knee bend versus yours. When his foot hits the ground, he has, it'll be a little bit crude, but it's close enough, 94 degrees of knee bend. When we look at what your knee bend is when your foot hits the ground, you have 116 degrees. That's about 20 degrees, a little bit more than 20 degrees that Jannik has in extra knee bend, which means what? Extra leg drive and explosion and more energy transfer from the ground up into the ball. If you want to have a more knee bend, but have a lower toss, you are going to have to bring the back foot up sooner in order to buy the time needed from the time your foot hits the ground to finally explode up and be able to hit the ball at full extension. One more thing that you'll notice, when Jannik begins exploding up, he begins exploding up much earlier compared to the birthday hat. Remember, you got your foot to hit the ground when your racket was above the birthday hat. The racket passing from right to left in over your head, which you do beautifully, by the way. So this means Jannik has a deeper racket drop that not back scratch, but you understand where the racket's down behind your back. He can get a deeper racket drop on his serve versus yours. In fact, you'll see that his hand is below his elbow, where you really don't get your hand much farther below the elbow than Jannik. And if you want a deeper racket drop, which is going to force you to swing even faster when you couple that with the leg drive and the lower toss, then bringing the back foot up earlier is going to make an enormous difference in your ability to hit a big serve. This really all comes down to your ability, Devin, to toss a bit lower, like Jannik, bringing the back foot up much earlier, like Jannik, giving you a bigger knee bend, a more ferocious leg drive, and all in all, you're going to hit a bigger serve. You have a really great serve, Devin, but copying these ideas, your serve's going to be even better. Has your tennis game plateaued or you feel like you're not improving fast enough? Then maybe what your game needs is a video analysis lesson. It's where you can get your strokes analyzed, your match play tactics and footwork analyzed, and they can quickly help you play better and win more matches. In fact, here are some visuals of technique and match play analysis lessons I've recently made for players around the world, and I can analyze you too. If you'd like me to personally teach you and help you quickly improve, click the link in the description or first comment and learn more about video analysis lessons. So click right there if you'd like to have me analyze your technique, strategy, or footwork. Devin, go out and practice these tips. Compare yourself to Jannik Sinner. If you do, there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. Devin, you got this.